In this podcast episode, the host interviews renowned physician and author, Dr. Gabor Maté. The two delve into a wide range of topics, including the impact of personality on disease, the role of spirituality in modern medicine, and the unique pressures faced by women and men in society. One of the key points of discussion is the relationship between personality types and chronic illness. Dr. Maté highlights the observation that certain personality patterns are often associated with the development of chronic diseases such as autoimmune conditions, chronic fatigue, and inflammatory bowel disease. He emphasized that these traits, such as an automatic concern for the emotional needs of others while suppressing one's own, a rigid identification with duty and responsibility, and repression of healthy anger, can contribute to the onset of illness. Dr. Maté also stresses the importance of recognizing these patterns and their impact on health, as well as the potential for transformation through self-awareness and personal growth. The conversation also touches on the role of spirituality in modern medicine. Dr. Maté expresses the view that spirituality is often overlooked in medical practice, despite its potential to provide a deeper understanding of health and healing. He emphasizes the importance of addressing the biopsychosocial spiritual aspects of human beings and how these factors can influence overall well-being. Dr. Maté also highlights the need for a more holistic approach to healthcare that takes into account the spiritual dimension of human experience. Another topic of discussion is the unique pressures faced by women in society, particularly in relation to the high prevalence of autoimmune diseases among women. Dr. Maté points out that women often take on the role of emotional shock absorbers in their families and are more likely to absorb the stresses of their environment, which can contribute to the development of chronic illnesses. He also highlights the impact of social and cultural factors on women's health, emphasizing the need for a broader conversation that extends beyond individual traits to include larger social trends and systemic issues. In addition, the conversation addressed the toxic pressures faced by men in society, particularly in relation to the expectation for men to suppress vulnerability and emotions. Dr. Maté emphasizes the detrimental impact of societal expectations on men's mental health, highlighting the need for men to embrace vulnerability and seek support for their emotional well-being. He also discusses the concept of trauma, explaining that trauma is not just about the big, dramatic events such as abuse or neglect, but also about the lack of positive experiences that children need for healthy emotional and brain development. He highlights the significance of being seen, heard, and accepted as a child, and how the absence of these experiences can lead to emotional wounds that impact mental and physical health later in life. The podcast delves into the impact of stress on the body and its relationship to disease. Dr. Maté explains that stress triggers the release of stress hormones, such as adrenaline and cortisol, which can affect the immune system, the gut, the brain, and the heart. He emphasizes the need for a holistic approach to health that considers the interconnectedness of the mind and body. One of the key themes of the podcast is the impact of parenting on childhood trauma. Dr. Maté shares personal experiences of how his own stress and unresolved trauma affected his parenting, leading to moments of regret and guilt. He acknowledges the challenges faced by parents in a society that often prioritizes external pressures over the emotional needs of children. Dr. Maté offers valuable insights for parents, encouraging them to listen to their instincts and prioritize the emotional well-being of their children. He emphasizes the importance of understanding and addressing one's own trauma as a parent, as well as the need to create a supportive and nurturing environment for children to thrive. The podcast also addresses the issue of guilt and shame that many parents may experience when reflecting on their parenting decisions. Dr. Maté provides a compassionate perspective, urging parents to let go of self-blame and instead focus on understanding and repairing the impact of past experiences on their children. The conversation also touches upon the societal pressures faced by parents, particularly in Western societies, where the age at which parents have children is often later, coinciding with career aspirations and financial pressures. The lack of support systems and the emphasis on independence at an early age are identified as contributing factors to the increasing mental health burden. They also discuss the impact of trauma on mental health and the importance of addressing it. They highlight the need for individuals to recognize and address their own trauma, as well as the societal stigma surrounding mental illness. Dr. Maté emphasizes the need for more open conversations about mental health and the importance of removing the stigma associated with it. The conversation also delves into the story of Prince Harry, who has been vocal about his own struggles with mental health and trauma. Dr. Maté shares insights from his conversation with Prince Harry, highlighting the prince's commitment to addressing his own trauma and preventing its impact on future generations. He emphasizes the need for individuals to recognize their own pain and trauma and work towards healing, rather than succumbing to societal pressures and expectations. The conversation continues with Dr. Maté reflecting on a recent interview he had done with Harry, where he received criticism for looking at his watch during the discussion. Dr. Maté explains that he was checking the time to ensure there was enough time to answer questions from the audience, emphasizing that the interview was a conversation, not a therapy session. Dr. Maté goes on to challenge the common perception of addiction, arguing that it is a fundamentally human experience. He defines addiction as any behavior that provides temporary pleasure or relief, leading to a craving and continued engagement despite negative consequences. He emphasizes that addiction is not a moral failure or inherited disease, but rather a coping mechanism for emotional pain. The conversation then shifts to the societal values that shape our lives, with Dr. Maté highlighting the pressure to conform to materialistic, individualistic, aggressive, and competitive standards. He argues that these values go against our true nature as human beings, leading to a sense of disconnection and emptiness. Dr. Chatterjee also shared his personal experience with success and how it had been tied to external validation for much of his life. He reflected on the release of his latest book and how he had to confront his own insecurities and self-doubt, despite achieving success in the form of a bestseller. The conversation concluded with both Dr. Maté and Dr. Chatterjee emphasizing the importance of finding fulfillment and contentment within oneself, rather than seeking external validation. They highlighted the role of relationships, self-acceptance, and authenticity in achieving true happiness and well-being.